sir.
Good morning.
It's very good to have you with us at this moment, sir. Compliments of the Father's Day. First, we'd like to ask you a question also on the whole financial crisis that is bedeviling the whole economy right now. I mean, the impact of the Eurozone that everybody feels all around Africa, sub-Saharan Africa inclusive. And then quite a number of parents, especially fathers, have lost their jobs, lost investments in the capital market and so many sectors. What do you have as encouragement, as advice for such parents that are passing through this financial stress right now?
Well, first and foremost is to say the current financial crisis is global. We should even thank God that it's not worse in Nigeria. I was watching CNN 2 days ago. Families in Greece are really in serious problem. You see many people now taking their children to motherless babies home because they cannot take care of them. And of course, it's also reverberating across different continents, including Nigeria. My advice, especially today being Father's Day, to fathers is not to abdicate their responsibility on account of the very tough economic terrain. I believe that God, who has called them to be fathers, would give them the ability to weather the storm. They should get out of their cocoon and open their eyes wide open. They should keep their eyes wide open and be willing to do whatever to raise enough money for the family. Now, the business cycle is such that, yes, it's down today, it will be up tomorrow. And so we should not lose hope and misbehave. Some take to drugs at this point in time. They leave home, then they just think there will be no tomorrow. And that way, I mean, going that track is like a free slope down the hill. And I don't think they should do that. They should roll up their sleeves and be willing to do anything legal, anything legal. I mean, if you've lost your job, think about what you can do. There's something, there's an ability that God has deposited in you, which is not in someone else around you. Yours is just to discover it and then begin to work around it. For some, when we come out of this crisis, they will be happy that it happened because it's a way God will actually direct them to their areas of best fit. Many of us are in white-collar job. We may not do that well in white-collar job. Yeah, we may go out and come back home, bringing enough money home. Perhaps God expects us to go to greater heights. But what this matter has done is basically to push some out of job, but into other areas that will take them to the zenith of their career. At the beginning, it will be rough, but over time, when they discover their innate ability, they will then be able to develop whatever God has laid in their hands, and sky will be their limit. So my advice is, let us not despair. Look around. Let's look around. There are opportunities still in Nigeria. It's an emerging economy. Well, if we look into agriculture, we look into small businesses, we look into other areas that government is directing attention now. A good thing, they are fixing infrastructure. I believe we will come out of it better. Notwithstanding what has been happening, our economy has been growing by 7% on an annual basis. That's a remarkable achievement by global standard. And so it's for us to look around us and see where we can key in and be able to weather it out. And for some, I believe this is the time even to buy shares. People don't know. Warren Buffett said that you should be greedy when others are careful and be careful when others are greedy. Prices are at the trough now. So my advice, if you have a spare change, not to go and borrow anyway, this is the time to put money in shares, because when the economy turns back up, you're not going to get those shares at the rock bottom prices that they are trading now.
All right, so owing to this as well, this same question I asked earlier is the key issue of saving culture and entrepreneurship spirits as regards parents, fathers instilling such discipline in their children, in their offspring. How is this possible, sir? What should parents do at this time?
Well, parents should actually develop savings culture. Unfortunately, that is not apparent in Nigeria. You see, I just came back from China. If you look around us in Africa, we spend what we don't have. Everybody wants to live big. Everybody wants to have a marriage that is one in town. You know, we try to spend, we like to be who we are not. And that is what has affected us even as a nation. Fathers should inculcate that habit in their children. And you start even by making sure if you have a new baby and they give you money for the baby, it's not for you to do socials. Why not put it together, open an account for him, buy some shares? When the child grows up and realizes that, So they gave me money 10 years ago, and so that is what has gone into the shares and it has risen. Then he also will build on it. So I believe that we should inculcate that in our lives and spend less. Let's cut our coat according to our cloth. You see all social gathering all over the place, how people flaunt wealth that they don't have. I don't even mind if rich people spend money. But today we spend money that we don't have. And entrepreneurial spirit is also key. A lot of us go to school hoping that we will come out and find an employment. No. I think our schools and universities should actually change their curriculum and train people on how they can be on their own, how they can develop entrepreneurial spirit. And that, I said earlier, is just to sit down and think, how do I add value to life? What do I do better than others? Once I begin to identify those things, and I do it for 2, 3, 4 people, they tell others, before long I begin to create a critical mass of clientele that I will serve in whatsoever niche area I have developed for myself. So I think it's good. There are so many schools now and training outfits that actually develop people in entrepreneurial activity. I think we need to bring that up, particularly now that the paid employment appears to be disappearing.
My final question, which you boiled down on your scheme, that's the cashless economy. I just want to know, sir, what stage are we right now? Where are we in this whole cashless Lagos idea?
Cashless Lagos is gaining ground. It's taking its firm root. As we speak, banks have acquired as many as 100,000 POS machines, although less than 20 are still very active, less than 20,000. But we're quite happy that today we have transactions driven by POS averaging 10,000 per day and totaling close to 150 million on a daily basis. We're just starting, and we're still at the steep end of the learning curve. We believe that before the end of the year, by which time we will have developed that habit, we will have a lot more transaction through the card on the POS. The next stage will be to then ramp up and deploy across the country, and that will be from January 2013. Currently, we're working with stakeholders, i.e. the telecoms companies, to ensure that everywhere the POS machine is, there's connectivity. We're ensuring that we work with government to ensure that we all work together to ensure we have very low failure rate for connectivity. And we're also embarking on enlightenment in local languages and dialects, galvanizing interest in this area. By our assessment is working well. It can be better, but we're dealing with it. And we're working hard to ensure that we deal with fraud, even right from the beginning, because cyber fraud and e-payment fraud can be much more devastating. But we're working with our technical partners to ensure that we have a network of anti-fraud scheme that cuts across the entire value chain, such that wherever it occurs, we get to know it pretty fast. And we're all excited that it's taking its firm route.
Okay, recently, this is the final one. So recently you pegged the individual limits for withdrawals and deposits to 500,000 naira. And for organizations, it's about 3 million naira now. Now, is there any indication that there's going to be any change in these limits again? Because earlier on, the 150,000 naira and 1 million naira wasn't that convenient. That was the reason for this change. Any changes?
We will not change it immediately. We will ensure that everybody develops the habit first. Okay. Once the habit is developed, individually you will be setting lower limit for yourself, because it's more convenient to use card than carrying cash around. We may have to bring it down to what we originally intended, 150,000 and 1 million, much later, but not in the immediate future. We still want to ensure that we put good enough infrastructure, ubiquitous technology that ensures that the failure rate is close to zero. Once we're sure and we're certain that we have POSs all over the place and is very, very convenient for everybody, then it will be more convenient to lower the threshold. But currently, we don't want to make life difficult for people. And I think for now, we don't have immediate plan to change it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.